welcome to the Season 3 premiere of As Failed on TV. Now, I feel that for a season premiere, I must do something big, something relevant. Well, the Super Bowl that took place back in February fits half of that criteria and is a monument to commercialism, so let's go with that. Now, this year's Super Bowl was probably my favorite in a long time, and not just because I was a fan of the winning team, the New England Patriots. That, of course, helps, but I would have loved this year's Super Bowl even if there were a different team there in place of the Patriots. Despite me just saying that, I feel there was a great story being told in that game that didn't need any artificial flavoring from the NFL, whether that be the Patriots deflating footballs during their trouncing of the Indianapolis Colts 2 weeks prior, or Seattle Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch's particular brand of media presence.
I'm here so I won't get fined.
Or lack thereof. The NFL and the muffler-sucking, paint-gargling retards that called themselves commentators wanted to talk about all that crap when the game itself was just so interesting. This year's Super Bowl was truly a game of the American and National Football Conference's two best teams fighting off on the grandest stage football has to offer. One team was looking to repeat championship glory for the second year in a row, while the other had come so close to tasting the gold, but kept coming up short every year since they had last won it a decade prior. The game itself was a great back and forth with amazing plays from both sides, a come-from-behind lead change, and one of the most dramatic plays in Super Bowl history. People will go on to remember names like Tom Brady and even Russell Wilson, but in the end, the most dramatic, most amazing play of that game was made by two guys that people had never heard of, Malcolm Butler and Ricardo Lockett. A play so amazing that it caused the fans of 31 NFL teams to do this. While some people I convinced to do this, did this.
And there is Brady.
I don't know, I think that last guy was jumping a little bit too high. Suspend a lot of them for 4 games and fine their parents $1 million. Even I fell victim to the celebratory nature that only comes from winning a Super Bowl. I started saying things drunkenly on the internet, including this wonderful little blunder. We won't the fucking Super Bowl. Then, with their hopes and dreams destroyed, Seattle tried to brawl with the Patriots, resulting in 2 players being ejected from the game. The Patriots hoisted the Vince Lombardi trophy and went home to have a parade on the streets of Boston, amidst 11 goddamn feet of snow. That was just the game, though. The Super Bowl rakes in an extraordinary amount of viewers every year, and it isn't just to see the 2 very best teams play football. Some people watch it for the halftime performances, which are always a train wreck. I mean, even this year's train wreck had everything. It had sharks, a totally relevant Missy Elliott, and the Ember Island players doing Katy Perry songs. And then there was what we're going to talk about today, the commercials. Now, every year, companies spend an amount of money on advertising at the Super Bowl that should make you cry because none of us combined will even see that kind of money, and it's being used to buy a 30-second spot of pratfalls in a vain attempt to sell you Coca-Cola. Now, for the Season 3 premiere of As Failed on TV, I'm going to be taking a look at some of the worst commercials that this year's Super Bowl had to offer. Even with all that money, some companies just can't purchase a good sense of humor. Or an advert that makes you actually want to purchase their product. Or an R&D to make sure that that product doesn't eventually kill you. Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to be taking a look at all of the bad ones. And that's not laziness on my part, by the way. That's laziness on these companies' parts for making lazy, boring commercials. It's the Super Bowl, you kumquats. Put in some goddamn effort. And that's pretty much my opinion on all the boring ones. I'm also going to be staying away from movie trailers, but I will say that I did kind of like the Ted 2 trailer that had Tom Brady in it. I think it was pretty clever, and I'm a helpless homer. The Boston Globe could run a front-page story of Tom Brady strangling a hobo, and I'd deny it to my dying breath. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at some of the worst commercials of Super Bowl XLIX. Now, the first commercial we're going to take a look at probably wouldn't stand out to most people as being really what you would define as bad. It's more misguided. I feel that the company that put this out really didn't understand the demographics of the Super Bowl, in the way that Pete Carroll didn't really understand the 2-minute drill. So the commercial opens on a hangar lighting up a big jet. Now you might think that this maybe is a commercial for the Air Force or for an action movie, given that it's lighting up a stealth bomber. Now it's showing a different bomber. Might this be a trailer for a new Ace Combat game? I enjoy those games, they're kind of fun.
Building aircraft, the likes of which the world has never seen.
No, actually, the world has seen stealth bombers like this before. In fact, they saw it not too long ago because they fly the things over the goddamn stadium.
That's the value of performance. Northrop Grumman.
That's right, this was an advertisement for a defense contractor. Now, I gotta say, of the 114 million people who are watching the Super Bowl, I gotta take a rough guesstimate that about 113.99 million of them really would have no interest in a defense contractor, unless they're planning to secede and start their own country. Hey, people watching the Super Bowl have oodles of disposable income, right? Who wants to start their own space program? Any takers? I guess they were just hoping that Obama was watching. I don't think he was watching, though, because the Chicago Bears blew chunks this year. And so that was one of the less egregious commercials at this year's Super Bowl. Like I said earlier, it works as more kind of an icebreaker for the actual garbage, as they sang in that one Newfound Glory song, It's All Downhill From Here. What was that song called again? My Heart Will Go On? The next commercial we're going to take a look at is from a baffling fast food joint, and that joint is Carl's Jr. Now, I've eaten at many a fast food joint, which is why I've spent the last 23 years as a recovering vegetarian. But even in that dark period of my life, I can take solace in the fact that I've never once eaten at a Carl's Jr., nor its tumor of a twin called Hardee's. And their commercials have not done much to change that in the past. For those of you unfamiliar, Carl's Jr. loves to use a style of advertising that I've called the super slimy, sexy salesmanship. Trademark. Essentially what they do is they find the most attractive people in the world and force them to walk around seductively and say the name of whatever they're selling as if it belonged in a late-night Skinamax special. So whenever Carl's Jr. is introducing a new sandwich, they get people who would never be caught dead within 10 miles of a Carl's Jr. pretending to eat a 12,000-calorie sandwich. But maybe they've upped their game for the Super Bowl and tried something new. Let's take a look.
I love going all natural.
You know, I gotta say, I'm kind of curious as to the logic here. Does Carl's Jr. really think that people are sitting at home watching this commercial going, wow, that lady's kind of almost naked at a farmer's market, and she's eating a sandwich. I must also have a sandwich. In fact, I must have the same sandwich.
It just makes me feel better.
Ha 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 ha. That thing looks like a butt. I will have 2 sandwiches. Do people really act this obviously? Ever? Look, I understand that people are attracted to other people in public all the time, and all the time they're gonna sneak a gander at whatever part of that person attracted them in the first place. But does anybody ever really act like a jacking off jackass afterwards? Just look at this guy with the ice. Wow, this lady's really hot and not wearing a lot of clothes. I'm gonna masturbate furiously in her honor. Oh, wait a minute, no. I'm not home. People might find that weird if I do this in public. I know, I'll just pretend this ice is my dick, and my hand is my hand. And why am I holding a scraper?
Introducing the all-natural burger.
Ew. Why did it make that noise? This is something I've noticed with a lot of Carl's Jr. commercials, and in fact, fast food commercials in general. Whenever somebody takes a bite out of the sandwich, it always makes that weird crunching noise. I mean, lettuce is supposed to have some crisp to it, sure, I get that, but it sounds like they're taking a bite out of an apple. To computer.
No antibiotics, no added hormones, and no steroids.
Everything else on the Carl's Jr. menu, however, loaded with so much roidage it could be on the most home runs list. Did the commercial freeze? Is this a glitch? Oh wait, no, it's a freeze frame for a Carl's Jr. coupon. Oh, that's hilarious. Why did they stop it here? I mean, she looks like she was told to make a sexy face after taking a bite, and she was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pay homage to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and raise the people's eyebrow. She failed, by the way. So who is this lady, you may ask? Well, have you know, she's no ordinary lady. That is Charlotte McKinney. She's famous for dropping out of high school, getting overnight famous on Instagram, being inexplicably labeled a celebrity on Dancing with the Stars, losing horribly, I might add, and starring in the new Joe Dirt movie. I don't think it's possible for somebody's 15 minutes of fame to rocket by this quickly. I will give Carl's Jr. a little bit of credit, though. Usually in these commercials, they have their models seductively wiping semen off of their face. I'm sorry, I've been told that was a typo. The word I meant to say was mayonnaise. They're usually seductively wiping mayonnaise off their face. Forgive me. For our next commercial, we're going to be taking a look at a trend that has happened with more recent Super Bowl commercials. Since social media has exploded into such a significant part of our daily lives, a lot of advertisers want to use it in as many ways as they can to make a quick buck off of us. And that's why pretty much every single commercial nowadays has some sort of hashtag involved with it that the company wants you to promote, in addition to please to follow said company on social medias like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at ChrisTheNerd92, and if you watch this video, please promote it by using the hashtag ChrisNerdChump. Just want to get the word out. As we near the Super Bowl, some advertisers even use commercials to promote their own commercials, which is so fucking stupid it makes me want to scream. Enter Mercedes-Benz. They had a tortoise in the hair commercial planned for their Super Bowl ad, and they wanted eager viewers to use the hashtag #TheRace in order to promote conversation. Now, I love a good race, but I think all races are good. I don't judge. I do, however, judge commercials. So let's take a look at Mercedes' attempt to sell me a car that I'll never be able to afford no matter how many Patreon dollars I get.
Hey, good luck, Hare.
Ha, you better have a jetpack under there, Turtle.
It's Tortoise, actually.
So the tortoise is a really nice guy who values good sportsmanship and is essentially the opposite of every single member of all 32 NFL teams. Hare, however, is a douchebag because he has confidence in his skill to beat a goddamn turtle.
It's Tortoise, actually.
Shut up, I'm talking. Naturally, we have to root against the hare, like we root against Goku when he fights a Cyberman, even though we know he's a million times better than it could ever be in its entire life.
On your left, coming through.
The French eat snails, and the snail is French. It's ironic. This commercial is smart because it uses cultural humor. Why not just have the snail going by going, oh, baguette, poisson, oui, oui?
Hey, deal me in, guys.
So the hare's distraction in this isn't a nap. Instead, it's a game of poker that his friends are playing on the side of the road. Like you do.
What?
Meanwhile, the tortoise has veered entirely off course to a Mercedes-Benz factory in the distance.
What twist? Slow and steady, my...
That must be a really long game of poker that the hare is playing in order to give Tortoise enough time to make it to the Benz factory, have them build the car for him, have him gather up $50,000 for the car, sign all the paperwork, and then drive it out.
Who's your turtle? It's Tortoise, actually.
Don't worry, hare, I made that exact same face. In this small amount of time, the tortoise stole what I can only assume is the hare's gold-digging girlfriend, who's only interested in the tortoise in the first place because he's got the kind of money to throw down on a Mercedes. Also, the tortoise cheated in a totally legitimate race. The hare was kind of an asshole, sure, but at least he ran the race legit. He didn't need to go off and have a biased third party make a sports car for him. Overall, this commercial was such a waste. For all the money that they spent just on the positioning of the ad, you'd think that the animation would be better. The plot of the commercial was nonsensical. And yes, I appreciate the silliness in complaining about the plot of a 60-second commercial. Don't point it out to me. Aside from Danny Trejo and Riley, the Bud Light guy, this was the commercial for a commercial that I saw the most leading up to the Super Bowl, and I have to say the end result was kind of disappointing in spite of that hype. Mercedes can't have all the car-related dumb to itself, though. Fiat wanted to get involved as well with a more humorous take on a car commercial, and considering Mercedes' attempt at humor was about as funny as all the Deflategate jokes, it can only really go up. Let's take a look. We open on some very nice beauty shots of a rustic Italian village. Inside a house, the most interesting man in the world is about to have himself a really good day. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to do the opposite of seduce me because old people boning is weird! You've got to be shitting me. I'm gonna throw this object at my face. What has happened? The pill then proceeds to Rube Goldberg its way across the village. It moves so fast that it makes ricochet special effects on walls and Saturday morning cartoon sound effects. If this pill is this strong, what would it have done to that old man? Oh, Florenzo, did you order a leg lamp from a Christmas Story fan site? Oh, never mind, that's just a big, hard, throbbing vein. You get the point. So this man is essentially driving around in an erection, right? If it lasts for longer than 4 hours, do we have to call a mechanic? You know, ever since giving my car this pill, it's had a lot of difficulty with oil changes. Did anybody notice that the tunnel was blushing as we drove through it? You know, I gave my car 30 of these pills, it turned into a monster truck and broke down. Car-related penis humor. That is why you tune into this show, ladies and germs. I will now have 3 sandwiches. Let us go to Carl's Jr. Or anywhere else. So far, we've had fun making fun of car commercials, penises, and even sandwiches. And as dumb as those commercials got, they were at least lighthearted. They never made you want to slit your wrists with a My Chemical Romance CD. But this next commercial we're about to take a look at sent the world into a frenzy. There's really no reason to stall. You know what I'm talking about. It's the Nationwide commercial. Let's take a look.
Hey, wait! Gus, wait! Wait!
I'm not even sure there's really going to be any funny commentary I'm going to be able to add to this, and it starts off with child abandonment.
Or get cooties.
Not with that attitude! Yeah, this ain't gonna work.
I'll never learn to fly.
Nor will you realize that you're using your goggles improperly, you little twit. Why are all these bugs getting in my eyes? I'm wearing goggles!
And I won't ever get married.
To what? The dog? I mean, you just said you're not getting cooties, unless, of course, you're talking about marrying Optimus Prime, and if you are, you must know, Optimus Prime already has an overbearing, overprotective girlfriend, and her name is Shia LaBeouf. Is this thing on?
I couldn't grow up because I died from an accident.
Sucks, kid. We've all been there.
At Nationwide, we believe in protecting what matters most. Your kids. Together, we can make safe happen.
You know what? That's really poignant. Now, who wants to see Danny Trejo cross-dress as a member of the Brady Bunch for Snickers? Anybody? So that was it. That was the commercial that caused the world to go crazy. This commercial aired very early in the Super Bowl, after which millions of tweets started pouring out about the commercial and just how depressing it was. It was actually kind of a theme at this year's Super Bowl for the commercials. There were a lot of tearjerker commercials about loving your family and other bullshit. Those commercials didn't seem to explode like this one did, though. I have a friend who works at an insurance company, and she was telling me that her office was bombarded with phone calls from people wanting to switch insurance companies the day after the Super Bowl, citing this commercial as a major reason why. Let me say this, Nationwide. I get what you were doing. I think your heart was in the right place. You're absolutely right that sometimes children die and parents should be prepared for the worst. God forbid the worst should ever actually happen. I also get why you would show something like this at the Super Bowl. As I said earlier, 114 million people watch the Super Bowl, and it's a word that should get out there. So don't worry, Nationwide. Chris the Nerd is on your side. However, there are a couple of things to keep in mind here. First of all, the Super Bowl is a tradition for a lot of people. A lot of people will invite over their friends and family and just have a good time eating, laughing, drinking, and generally just having a good time watching an event that only takes place once a year. It's like WrestleMania without all the shame. That said, no schlub that's on his second rack of barbecue ribs and seventh rack of natty ice is gonna want to talk about dead kids. Second, most of the Super Bowl commercials are dedicated to humor. Those are the ones that people remember the most fondly. They get celebrity cameos, and they do something funny. Sometimes they try to be a little bit more profound, and it can work if done properly. This one just wasn't. So thank you for watching the Season 3 premiere of As Failed on TV. Now, I can pretty much promise that no episode for the rest of the season will come close to the scale, or quality, of this episode, but I hope you do subscribe to see what I have in store for the rest of the season. So until next time, I'm Chris the Nerd, and thank you for watching As Failed on TV.